Joe Pesci's revolver did not just intimidate people in Goodfellas, it literally shattered during filming, and that moment made the scene even more terrifying. If you love deep-dive movie gun breakdowns and hidden details, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. What we are going to explore here is why Tommy DeVito's revolver in Goodfellas became more than a prop, and how a piece of broken wood reinforced one of cinema's most dangerous characters. Just so you know, all firearms shown are discussed for educational and entertainment purposes in a film analysis context. Martin Scorsese built his entire career on one thing, and that thing is making movies feel uncomfortably real. When he adapted Nicholas Pileggi's book Wise Guy into Goodfellas back in 1990, he wanted every detail to matter. The clothes, the food, the music, the cars, and especially the guns. Scorsese grew up in Little Italy during the 1950s and 1960s. He saw how organized crime operated in plain sight. He understood that real mobsters did not carry flashy weapons or wave them around like action heroes. They kept things quiet. They kept things hidden. They kept things close. Scorsese went through 12 different script drafts with Pileggi to get these details right. He consulted firearms experts and had the cast speak directly with Henry Hill to understand how these men actually behaved. Tommy DeVito, played by Joe Pesci, represents the most volatile and unpredictable element in the entire film. Based on the real-life gangster Tommy DeSimone, this character kills people over minor insults. He shoots a young waiter named Spider in the foot for not bringing drinks fast enough and then murders him days later when Spider talks back. Tommy operates on emotion rather than calculation. Everything about him signals danger because you never know when he will explode. Pesci had actually retired from acting before Goodfellas. Robert De Niro personally convinced him to return for this role, recognizing that Pesci understood this world in ways other actors could not replicate. So when Scorsese and his props team selected a firearm for Tommy DeVito, they did not give him some large, intimidating weapon. They gave him something small, something you could tuck away without anyone noticing. They gave him a Smith & Wesson Model 36. This revolver, also known as the Chief Special, first appeared in 1950 and quickly became one of the most common concealed firearms in America. The design uses what Smith & Wesson calls a J-frame, which is their smallest revolver frame. The barrel measures only 1 7/8 inches long. The entire gun weighs around 19 ounces when empty. For the film's production team, this choice reflected extensive research into what real street-level criminals actually carried during the 1960s and 1970s. The Model 36 appeared frequently in police evidence lockers and crime scene photographs from that era. It was the kind of weapon that showed up in waistbands and coat pockets across New York during the exact period Goodfellas depicts. The snub-nose design meant this revolver prioritized concealment and quick access over precision at distance. In cinematic terms, this choice tells the audience something about Tommy before he ever fires a shot. He operates in close quarters. He handles problems personally. He does not stand back and calculate. The prop department selected a firearm that visually communicated character the moment it appeared on screen. This matches Tommy DeVito's role in the narrative. He functions as the crew's most immediate threat, the person they bring when intimidation needs to happen face to face. The small revolver underscores this function without dialogue or exposition. Now we arrive at the scene that everyone remembers: the Billy Batts murder. This sequence takes place in 1970 at a nightclub owned by Henry Hill. Billy Batts, played by Frank Vincent, has just gotten out of prison after serving 6 years on drug charges. He belongs to the Gambino crime family, which means he holds the rank of a made man. In the world of organized crime, made men have protection. You cannot touch them without permission from the higher-ups. This rule existed as one of the fundamental codes that kept different crime families from descending into constant warfare. Batts makes the mistake of taunting Tommy about his past. Years earlier, before Tommy became feared, he worked as a shoeshine boy. Batts brings this up repeatedly throughout the evening. He tells Tommy to go home and get his shine box. The insult cuts deep because it reminds Tommy of a time when he had no status within the organization. Frank Vincent and Joe Pesci had worked together before in Raging Bull, where they played different roles in a similar dynamic of escalating tension. Scorsese knew their chemistry would make this confrontation feel authentic. Tommy leaves the bar. Everyone thinks the confrontation has ended, but Tommy returns. He walks up behind Bats and smashes a drinking glass over his head. Then he pulls out the Model 36 and begins pistol whipping Bats with the butt of the revolver. He does not fire the weapon in this moment. He uses it as a blunt instrument, swinging it again and again into the side of the man's skull. Here is where the prop breakdown happens. The wooden grip on Tommy's revolver shatters during the attack. Pieces of wood scatter across the bar floor as Tommy continues his assault. Jimmy Conway, played by Robert De Niro, holds Bats down while Henry Hill locks the front door. They stomp Bats into unconsciousness, believing they have killed him. The grip breakage was a deliberate prop effect rather than an accident. The Smith & Wesson Model 36 uses wooden grip panels attached to the metal frame by a single screw at the bottom. For this scene, the prop department created grips designed to visibly splinter on camera, scattering fragments to emphasize the intensity of the attack. Film props often use modified materials like scored wood or balsa that break convincingly without endangering actors. This technique allows directors to capture destruction in a single take. Some online discussions have confused this moment with claims that the gun itself exploded or that the cylinder failed. That misremembering does not match what appears on screen. The revolver does not discharge during the bar scene. The breaking you see involves the wooden grip panels fragmenting as the prop performs exactly as the production team intended. Comment Goodfellas if this detail completely changes how you see that scene. What makes this prop choice effective is how it reinforces character through visual storytelling. Tommy DeVito cannot control himself even when it costs him. His own weapon cannot survive his actions. A more calculating character would have stopped after achieving the objective. Tommy keeps swinging until the grip literally falls apart in his hand. Scorsese lets the broken prop communicate this without any dialogue explaining what it means. The scene continues after the initial beating. The crew wraps Bats in a tablecloth and stuffs him into the trunk of Henry's car. They drive upstate to bury the body. During this drive, Scorsese inserts one of the film's most jarring tonal shifts. The trio stops at Tommy's mother's house, played by Scorsese's own mother, Catherine, for a late-night meal. She feeds them and shows off a painting she made. The casual domesticity sits directly alongside what they have just done and what they are about to finish. Catherine Scorsese improvised most of her dialogue during filming, creating an authenticity that scripted lines could not replicate. During the trip, they hear thumping from the trunk. Bats survived the assault. He is still alive. Tommy pulls over and opens the trunk. Now he uses a different weapon. He stabs Bats repeatedly with a kitchen knife from his mother's house. Jimmy Conway fires several shots into the body. The revolver from the bar scene is gone, its grip destroyed by Tommy's earlier actions. This transition from one weapon to others signals something about Tommy's arc in the film. The compact revolver represented Tommy as street muscle operating within the crew's hierarchy. As the story progresses, Tommy becomes increasingly difficult to control. He acquires different weapons. He uses them more readily. The real Tommy DeSimone earned the nickname Two-Gun Tommy because he often carried multiple firearms simultaneously. Scorsese incorporates this historical detail by showing Tommy's relationship with weapons evolving throughout the narrative. Later in Goodfellas, we see Tommy using a Colt M1911A, one to murder Spider the waiter. The production team selected this particular firearm because it carried historical weight. The 1911 had been standard American military issue for decades and appeared commonly in crime films from earlier eras. Using it in this scene connected Goodfellas to a longer tradition of gangster cinema while maintaining period accuracy for the 1970s setting. Scorsese uses firearms throughout Goodfellas to distinguish characters and their positions within the criminal organization. Jimmy Conway maintains a practical approach that reflects his role as a professional planner. Henry Hill carries weapons during specific jobs, but does not define himself through them. Tommy's relationship with firearms reflects his psychological instability. He grabs whatever is nearby. He uses guns as clubs. He acts without consideration for consequences. The director never frames these weapons as glamorous or aspirational. Every firearm in Goodfellas leads to consequences. The broken revolver in the bat scene directly causes Tommy's eventual execution. Because Billy Batts was a made man in the Gambino family, killing him without permission violated fundamental organizational rules. The bosses wanted revenge. They waited years for the right opportunity. Tommy believed he was about to become a made man himself. He dressed up for the ceremony. He walked into that room expecting to join the elite ranks of the organization. Instead, he found an empty room. His mother received a phone call informing her that Tommy would not be coming home. The crew learned that Tommy was gone and understood immediately what had happened. Scorsese shoots this revelation through the reactions of the surviving characters rather than showing the violence directly, letting the audience's imagination complete the picture. The real Tommy DeSimone disappeared on January 14, 1979. His body has never been found. Most investigators believe the Gambino family executed him as payback for the Batts murder nearly a decade earlier. The film compresses this timeline and changes certain details, but the essential cause and effect remains intact. Let us examine the historical accuracy of the Batts scene specifically. The film takes liberties with the actual events while preserving their essence. In reality, DeSimone attacked William Bentvena at a bar called Robert's Lounge in South Ozone Park, Queens. The shoeshine insult happened much as depicted. The initial assault involved pistol whipping, matching the film. But the finishing occurred during the drive using different implements. The body was buried upstate, then exhumed years later when housing development threatened to expose the grave. The remains were eventually disposed of at a junkyard compactor. No historical account mentions the gun grip breaking during the assault. Henry Hill, whose testimony forms the basis for both the book and film, never described such a detail. The shattered grip appears to be a cinematic addition created by Scorsese and his production team to heighten the visual impact and communicate character through prop destruction. Joe Pesci won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of Tommy DeVito. His performance drew from personal experiences and research into mob behavior. The famous improvised scene where Tommy asks Henry if he thinks Tommy is funny came from an actual incident in Pesci's youth when he complimented a connected individual's sense of humor and faced an intimidating response. Scorsese recognized the power of this story during rehearsals and incorporated it into the shooting script. For the Batts scene specifically, Pesci had to compensate for physical differences between himself and the real DeSimone. The actual man stood over 6 feet tall and weighed more than 200 pounds. Pesci's smaller stature meant he relied on performance intensity rather than physical presence. Every aspect of his movement and delivery in the bar scene communicates threat through behavior rather than size. Frank Vincent understood how to play opposite this energy. His portrayal of Batts required projecting arrogance that would believably provoke such a response while also generating sympathy as a victim. Vincent would later play similar roles in The Sopranos, building on the screen presence he developed working with Scorsese. The broader context of props in Goodfellas reveals Scorsese's attention to period authenticity. The production team researched actual crime scene evidence and period photographs to select appropriate firearms for each character and era depicted. The film spans from the 1950s through the early 1980s, requiring different props to reflect changing times and circumstances. The concept of props reflecting character runs throughout Scorsese's filmography. In Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro's character purchases weapons that mirror his psychological state. In Casino, the firearms and violence reflect corporate organization rather than street-level chaos. Goodfellas sits between these approaches, showing everyday objects that can become dangerous without warning. That broken revolver grip in the Billy Bats scene represents everything unstable about Tommy DeVito. His inability to moderate his responses, his willingness to destroy his own tools through excessive action, his disregard for what comes after. The wooden panels shatter and Tommy keeps going anyway because stopping never enters his consideration. The moment works precisely because it appears unplanned even though the production team designed it. Audiences experience surprise alongside the characters watching this unfold. The prop destruction exceeds expectations in a way that feels organic to the scene rather than staged. That shattered grip became part of the film's mythology, a small production detail that reinforces everything Goodfellas communicates about organized crime. These men damage everything around them, including themselves and their own tools. For more iconic movie gun moments explained, hit like and subscribe and tell us which scene we should break down next.